Welcome to our webinar, How to Successfully Hire a WIL Student, presented by Vancouver Island Work Integrated Learning, which is a collaboration between North Island College and Vancouver Island University. So today we will share a few work integrated learning success stories, as well as tips to help set you up for success with creating job postings, screening and interviewing candidates, onboarding new hires, and helping students adjust to your workplace culture. I'll share a brief story from one of our employers about their experience working with a WIL student. They were a small business working with a business intern, and initially they found the onboarding process challenging. Scheduling time amidst a really busy cycle was difficult, and it was also really challenging to figure out what the focus of the students' work should be. So they had day-to-day operational tasks that needed to be managed, and they also had a key project they wanted support with. And it was important to the employer to also support the student to achieve their specific learning goals. And this particular student was very shy and found it hard to articulate what they hoped to gain from the experience. They weren't very familiar with the scope of the project, and there was a steep learning curve. But despite these initial challenges, they kept really regular communication and continued to ask the student what were their learning goals and did they have any new strategies or ideas about the direction of the project. And the employer shared that initially it was a bit awkward to keep asking the student, but the student was very bright and quickly got a better grasp of the project, sailed through the operational tasks with increasing speed, and ultimately innovated a new strategy that was the most successful of the whole project. The student left the internship with a huge boost of confidence, and the employers shared with us that the experience was extremely rewarding for them on a personal level. Not only did the internship provide them with extra support, but it also increased their own engagement and motivation towards their work because it was so fulfilling to make a positive impact in supporting the student to achieve their goals. And seeing their student hire gain the confidence to make such massive strides was a highlight of the project's success. So to help set you up for your own success stories, we have some tips to share about how to optimize your WIL posting so it will really highlight the key information that students are looking for, as well as clarify your hiring needs. So location, it's a very key factor for student applicants. So do highlight if you are hiring for a position located in a central area. If a driver's license is required and reliable vehicle, make sure to mention that and identify whether you're on a major bus route. Also, it's great to share whether remote work is a possibility. A brief overview of your country, of your company. So include a brief paragraph to tell your company's story, highlight why an applicant would want to work for you. Share your company mission and or vision, any interesting projects, products, or clients that you are involved with, and information about your organization's culture. Your job description and qualifications required. So as well as major job duties and key qualifications, what does a typical day look like? How does this role contribute to larger company objectives? Salary information is mandatory to include on VI-WIL for all paid opportunities. You may choose to list a salary range. Keep in mind that students typically earn between $16 to $24 an hour, and include information about benefits or other incentives that might be available, such as flexible hours or remote work. In terms of the time frame, it's really important to include information about the length of your opportunity and approximate start and end dates. You can find our program and timeline resource on our website, www.viwil.ca, under Employer Resources. And this is a really helpful guide so that you can get a better understanding of the peak times that students seek WIL opportunities from various programs. Screening and interviewing tips. So here's a few tips to help to support you with the next steps. First, you really want to understand the student journey. Students lead busy lives. They juggle work integrated learning, studies, and employment throughout the academic term. So communication is really key. You want to clarify time constraints on both ends right from the start. Not all students are new to the workforce. There's going to be a range of prior experience and transferable skills, ranging everywhere from mature students who are transitioning careers to young students gaining their very first work experience. We also have international students that are participating in post-degree diploma programs, which means that they already have a degree from their home country. With VIU, MBA students engage in work integrated learning and bring considerable education and experience to the table. So there'll be a range of students who are very clear and targeted about their career path, and others in a process of exploration, still discovering their natural aptitudes and strengths. Recognizing intercultural communication differences. Our community has grown in the Comox Valley, and this is an opportunity for us to learn together and really capitalize on one another's strengths. It's important that when we look at difference, that we do so through a very broad lens. And one very broad intercommunication example is that Canadian culture is much more direct and individualistic than some other cultures in the world. So self-promotion may not be as natural for international students. Nonverbal communication tendencies, such as the amount of eye contact or personal space, also really varies between cultures. Recognizing differences can help to mitigate misunderstandings and better understand and communicate your own workplace culture. You really want to capitalize on strengths. It's important to recognize that most students who are studying in an additional language are bilingual and have strong cross-communication skills, which is of growing importance for companies who wish to increase their global presence. So it's very necessary. It's a really necessary inquiry for businesses as we pivot and shift to remote operations. Also, learning in an additional language and studying in another country takes initiative, determination, adaptability, the ability to engage with diverse individuals, and to be able to work in a wide variety of environments. Now we'll move on to some tips to support you with onboarding new student hires. The most successful WIL opportunities begin with a clearly developed plan for skill training during the work term. All students take a preparatory course to help set them up for success during their work integrated learning. And this is they put together a learning plan, and they're encouraged to share their objectives and goals with their supervisor to clarify expectations about the role that they will fill. So whenever possible, incorporate student learning goals into the training plan and reassess and adapt training plans to ensure that the WIL experience remains engaging. Setting expectations, clearly communicate what you expect from your student. In addition to operational expectations, how is your student hire expected to participate in broader company goals? What are expectations around behavior and professional etiquette? What is non-negotiable? Be really specific. Define schedule expectations, hours or days of work, breaks, pay frequency. Clarify who will be responsible for training and onboarding your student. Inform them of policies and procedures, health and safety plans, and the dress code. Workplace culture. Here are a few tips to help you to support your student to adapt and adjust to your new workplace culture. So one really good tip is to assign a team member as a buddy to help them adjust. Keep in mind intercultural differences and remember to consider things that you may assume that a new employee would already know. You can think of this as the unspoken rules of your workplace culture. Some things to consider are diversity, equity, and inclusion practices, incentives and perks, cell phone use in the office, frequency and duration of breaks, areas where you encourage initiative versus hierarchical decision making, company terms and commonly used vocabulary. Your team will be working directly with your new hire, so help your student hire to build good relationships with their coworkers by encouraging them to introduce themselves to their coworkers. Ask questions when they're not understanding something. In working on site, encourage them to join coffee and lunch breaks and make time for all staff, not just direct supervisors. Recently, we had a business student engage in a work integrated learning at an organization, and both parties were really excited about the fit because the student had an extensive skill set and they went through an onboarding process and they were off and running. And after about 3 weeks, we got a call from the student saying they didn't want to continue. So we got on the phone right away with the employer, and it became really clear that there were two very different perspectives about what had happened. The student had been burning through the workload at rapid fire, and the employer had noticed that the student was moving quickly, but they thought that's great because they're accomplishing everything set out. But they had no idea that the student was frustrated because they wanted more engagement and more challenge. And the student didn't know how to get more involved, and their frustration was perceived as a negative attitude. So, what might be perceived as a lack of work ethic by an employer is often a desire for more challenge and engagement from a student perspective. We often hear from students that they want their will to be more than just a job. They want to be involved. They're chomping at the bit for challenge and growth. We are bridging many areas of difference when we collaborate to create WIL opportunities. Academia meets industry. We're bridging generational difference, communication differences, experience levels, work styles, your personality. It all comes into the mix. So in order to create the most success, it's really key that we establish and maintain ongoing communication, and we're really open to learning from each other. And remember that a successful WIL is a three-way partnership between an academic institution, a host organization, and a WIL student. So we are available for additional support if you have any unexpected difficulties, and we really do encourage you to reach out to us. So this concludes our webinar on how to successfully hire a WIL student. We hope it's been valuable for you. You can find our one-stop hub at www.viwil.ca, where you can post opportunities that will reach students from both NIC and VIU for all regions north of the Malahat. You can email us at info@viwil.ca. And thank you for following us on social media. We look forward to hearing from you, learning more about your hiring needs, and connecting you with student talent.